Hello, welcome back to Sharks Happen. My name is Hal. I'm your host, going over shark attacks from 1900s till present, mostly large sharks, and we're going to get started right away. We're going to go over to Egypt, South Sinai, Sharm el-Sheikh. The date, December 5th, 2010. Renate Seiffert, 71 years old. Her and her husband are on their 12th trip to the Hyatt in Sharm el-Sheikh. They love the area there. They're on vacation. And it's getting to be about noon, and the temperatures are getting up. Her husband goes walking to go get a drink, and she decides to go in and cool herself off. She goes inside the water with her snorkel. Witnesses say it was noon. It was in chest-high deep water, but that hasn't been confirmed as of the story that I saw. And she's sitting there, and all of a sudden people hear her screaming for help. First they didn't know what she needed help for, and then they saw the shark, saw the fin and slapping in the water. There was a lot of people around her. There was a jet skier, there's a surfer, I think, and then there was a bunch of swimmers, lifeguards on the beach, but nobody went to help her. So this shark went ahead and took turns just biting out of her. Just came and took a bite, came and took another bite, and this activity continued until the shark obviously was full and went its way, and her body floated closer to the shore, and the lifeguards went out there and got her, brought her in. She was probably already dead before she hit the beach. The shark took her arm below the elbow. Her right arm below the elbow was bitten off. Her right leg at the knee was bitten off, and the femur from the hip all the way down to the knee that was left was completely exposed. So the bone was completely exposed all the way up to the hip. The stomach, the abdomen had bite marks on it, and it completely bit off her ass. So she lost a ton of blood, ton of tissue. There's no way you're going to survive from that. The coroner says it's from a 10-foot, 3 to 3.5 meter white tip, oceanic white tip. The same sharks that got Rodney Temple earlier in our story. Same type of deal where you're basically pieced. It takes little pieces and eats you alive. That is just, I'd rather have that great white take and do the one shot than go through what the oceanic white tip does to you. One of the creepier looking sharks, its eyes, something about that shark just scares me. I always assume the thing usually gets people in those, shipwrecks, things out in the open ocean. I didn't realize how often people are bit by them close to shore like that, especially in Egypt. At the time, Egypt had a very bad run of shark attacks. Theories were that there was, they dumped goats or something into the water, and they said that attracted sharks, and they were having a lot of bites. Some theorized that because it took her hand and took her ass, that it was fed out there on one of those shark feeding tours. Possibility, no way to tell. It seems the oceanic white tip has no problem eating a person, so I'll go by that. And that's our first story, Renate Seiffert, 71, and we will move on. Okay, now we head over to South Africa, Western Cape Province, Daigle Island. The date is September 21st, 2010. Khanyisile Momoza, 29 years old. He and a bunch of fellow poachers, they're swimming out to Daigle Island to try to get them some abalone and make their way back. It's a 3-hour swim from the beach to the island. They make the 3-hour swim. They're diving, collecting their abalone, and then they're on their way. It doesn't say the time or the depth. They're swimming to. It seems they're swimming to shore. They said that Momoza was just behind them, so they're in a group, but Momoza's a little bit back, and they're swimming along, and they hear a scream. They turn around, and they see the shark breach the water all the way up. They said his dorsal fin was all the way out of the water, and it had his leg in its mouth. It had Khanyisile's leg in its mouth, and then took him under. They admitted they were too scared to do anything to help him. All they did was swam to shore as fast as they could and then got help for him. Divers came out They contacted police. Police divers came out, searched for body, couldn't find it. It washed ashore the next day. There's no size of the shark. Sounds like it was a large one, and there's no actual injuries reported to it, even though the body washed ashore the next day. I'm thinking the leg had some major damage to it, but I don't know what else it did to the body. Not much information on this attack, so we're going to have to move on. But 29 years old, I'm not going to put it down as a predate. It seems that it probably just bit his leg and left him go, so that's what we're going to put it down as, an attack, a fatality, but not an attempt to eat, and we'll move on. Okay, now we're going to head over off of Bailey's Beach, which is 100 miles north of Auckland in New Zealand. The date is October 19th, 2018. Andrew Nugget Brough, 25 years old. He just got a brand new board and he's going out doing some surfing with his buddy. They get out, he's paddling, it's 150 yards from shore. He's only been paddling for about a half hour. And all of a sudden he says he's hit in the face. All he knew is he was hit in the face. He kind of felt something to his arm, but most of it, he noticed he was hit in the face, and he wondered if another surfer had come into him, meaning another surfboard coming and just slamming right into his face. And just then he says he looks and sees the great white flipping in the air, land on his board, and fall into the water. So this great white went up, bit him, got him in the arm actually, as he was laying on his board. So it got up and got his board in his arm. There's teeth marks in the board. The shark lost a tooth in the board and in his arm. They recovered a tooth of the shark from his arm. So he's laying on the board, and this thing came up and completely completely acting like he's a seal. Grabbed for the board, went flipping up over him, and when it landed in the water, then it did the death shake. So he's still on his board, and he's got this shark underneath him doing a death shake when he was thinking he was ran into by a surfer. Crazy story. Him and his friend paddled to the shore real quick, got the hell out of there, and that was it. He ended up with, I've seen two reports and a couple different stories. One says he had 40 stitches taken out a couple weeks later. Another one said 63 stitches. Either way, it was a lot of stitches for just one quick bite. And the radius on the board is only, like that. It's not a big mouth. They said a 3.2 to 3.5 meter great white. You're talking 10, 11 footer, and that is the size you're going to see a lot of these kind of activities with the boards. It usually isn't the monsters that are doing that. The monsters will come up and grab the board, but they usually don't. Other than Lewis Boren, I don't know of many large ones that come up and just take a snap at a board enough to take a chunk out of you like that. The Lewis Boren one, I think, is mistaken identity, and many of these 10, 12-foot sharks and surfboards are mistaken identity also. They're new, they're switching over from eating fish, going over after mammals, and how many mammals have they tried to eat by then? So it's very easy for them to confuse a surfboard at that age for a seal from underneath, I do believe, and that action just shows it. Crazy that he did the death shake under the water without having anything in his mouth, though. These sharks at that age, they call them wild teenagers, and I kind of agree with that. They're unpredictable at best. So that's our story. Andrew Nugget Brough, he went back in the water surfing just 8 weeks after the attack, and we will move on. Okay, now we're going to go over off the coast of California to Bird Rock, south of Tamale Point. The date is April 24th, 2010. Frank Gilbert, 48 years old. He's off of Bird Rock Island doing some abalone diving. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He's 50 feet from shore, 50 feet from the island, in 20 feet deep water. He's right now positioned over a rock. He just went down and grabbed one abalone, brought it to the surface, went down, grabbed two more, brought it to the surface. So he just grabbed 3 abalone, and he's up on the surface and he's resting. It's just about 2 o'clock. It's high tide. Visibility is very low, 4 feet. Not very far at all. He's laying on the top of the water resting now after swimming down twice to get those abalone and kicking lightly just to rest, and he feels a tug on his foot. Just a tug on his foot. He turns around. He says he rolls over in the water to look, and what he sees is the back of the shark and an 18-inch high dorsal fin working slightly. So the shark is kind of moving itself, so it's biting whatever it's got. He says he screams to his partner to get back to the boat. The shark's after him, and the shark ends up letting go of his foot, he climbs into his tube and paddles his ass back to the boat and gets out of the water. Then he discovers that his foot is bleeding. He's been bit in the foot. He needed 11 sutures for an 1.75 inch stab wound to the foot, right behind the big, where the pinky toe meets the foot. He had a little gash on the back of his heel. He had another gash next to that one, about 3/4 inch. So they had to sew him up and get him fixed up. But you know, the visibility doesn't matter. That, just like with Hannah, our story with the sitting on her board in 8 feet of water, looks down and there's a 15-foot great white there. Same thing. Snuck up on him, sitting there. Probably like those videos you see, they're all over the internet, awesome videos where the great white is sitting there just watching those people. And I think that that's a normal thing for a great white, is to watch like that. Even with the seals, it'll get an eye contact of what it is and then go down and do its hunting. I'm not of the belief that they're always in the bottom of the water when they're hunting those and just surprise them. I think they make visual contact beforehand, knowing what they're going after. But in any case, this is a test bite. Luckily to the foot, you can't find a more bony part than that. Could have been worse if it came up higher. Frank Gilbert needed some stitches of survival, bitten by a great white, no fatality. That's our story. We'll move on. Okay, now we're going to head over off the coast of Florida. Miramar Beach incident took place near the Gulf Holiday Travel Park. The date, June 25th, 2005. Jaime Marie Daigle, 14 years old. Her and a friend Felicia, they're out doing some boogie boarding. They're out 250 yards past the sandbar. Sandbar where probably people stay inside, I would think, to have protection from sharks, but they're way past it. It's about 11:15 and beach is pretty busy, and all of a sudden people are hearing screams. Tim Discus, 54-year-old surfer, is on a board about 200 yards from shore, and he looks over to where the girls are, sees Felicia frantically swimming towards shore, and looks at the board. The board's there. Felicia, they can't see Jaime, and there's a dark spot in the water which he recognizes as blood. He goes paddling over. Felicia saw the shark attack. I haven't seen her account of the attack, so I don't have that. I have what happens afterwards. Tim Discus arrives at the body. Now the pool of blood is 20 feet across. She's laying face down in the water. He goes to put her up and notices the shark is still trying to attack her. He gets her up on his board and he's paddling. Now the shark tried to bite its hand, tried to bite him again, and tried to bite Tim. Tim punched the shark in the nose when it tried to bite him. Now 2 other swimmers come over with a raft, and inside the raft is Chris White, 23 years old. I believe they put her body in the raft and now they're all swimming her to shore. I think they're still towing the surfboard behind them, but she's in the raft. They're swimming her in. Bystanders on the beach are watching, and they can see the shark underneath the swimmers, and they say the swimmers totally stop moving when that shark's underneath them. Chris White says that he looked down to his feet and he saw the shark swimming down there, so they all stopped swimming, just dangling there, not trying to look like food. Shark got distracted, went away, and they hustled their ass to the beach. Jaime was probably dead when she was laying out in the water. She suffered extensive damage to the leg. It looks like it only got the one really good bite in on her, and they don't say what kind of tissue removal happened, just that it was a severe bite to the leg and she bled out. Luckily, the Chris White and Tim Discus, neither of them were injured, even though the shark was hell-bent on biting that girl. It wanted to finish the job. They say it was an 8-foot bull shark. That's a big bull shark. That's a lot to deal with, and incredible. These 3 people swimming over there to help her out of the water. Just went over another story where they didn't help. A lot of times that isn't going to help by the time you get out there. But for these guys to do this is just amazing to me. I mean, complete stranger, and you're going to go out there. Good on you. But unfortunately, she didn't make it. Passed away from her wounds, and that's the story of Jaime Marie Daigle, 14 years old. I'm putting this down as a attack fatality, attempt to consume. There's no way that shark was going to stop. It wanted to be able to eat her, and the only thing that keeps her and a lot of people from those sharks finishing the job is people like Chris White and and Tim Discus that go out there and help a complete stranger get out of a situation where they probably will be consumed completely. So that's our story of Jaime Marie Daigle, 14 years old, and we will move on to the ending segments. Okay, now we're going to finish off our Provoke segment of the show. You're an idiot. Today's incident happened off the coast of San Diego, California in 2015, June I do believe, but it doesn't matter. Michael Kazma, he is an experienced hand feeder of blue sharks and mako sharks. You don't need certification for it. He's got at least one diver with him as he goes out, and he's hand feeding mako sharks. And there's a woman in the water named Elke Specker, and she claims he was intoxicated when he was hand feeding the sharks. And finally he put the fish, as he's feeding the mako shark, and kind of in her path. And as the shark gets up to her, takes the fish and goes ahead and bites her. Bites her arm, I do believe it is. Not bad wounds, not bad at all, luckily. But you know, he was playing games out there, hand feeding sharks, and caused this shark to run into her, basically biting her in the arm, causing a little laceration, causing some cuts. Nothing major. I didn't even look into it. That's not what this is about. So Michael's an idiot for doing that, but he's got some lawyers that are idiots too. In court, their defense was that the shark inadvertently got its teeth caught on her wetsuit, and she was cut when it tried to release itself. You can't make this shit up. So the lawyers joined Michael. Those are some idiots over there. And you know, normally they're bothering and injuring the shark. This time they injured another person. Totally ignorant. And if he was drunk, just way out of line. I do believe he lost his court case. And that's our You're an Idiot segment. Got one more segment and we'll be done with the show. Okay, we're going to finish out our show with I Am Not an Idiot. In the UK and Australia, researchers got together and they threw a GoPro onto a jet ski and determined that great whites have blind spots, big enough that they can barely tell us, they can't tell us from a seal or a sea lion, you know, when they're moving, I guess, because, you know, when you're driving a car at 80 miles an hour, you can't see like you can see when you're walking. Where do they come up with this crap? Where is my bull shark in fresh water? Where put a bull shark in freshwater aquarium and prove to everybody that they're not going to die. I mean, why jump back and talk about Thomas Thorsten's work in the 70s and 60s and go back even further for supposed sharks in the Mississippi when you could just put them in an aquarium? I bet you already have, and I bet you researchers know they die. So that's the end of our story. You know, sharks can see us. They can see us plain as day. Watch any of the footage and watch them looking at us in the water. I don't care if you're moving or you're standing still. You can still see. It is the dumbest report I've ever seen. Hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you'll be back in a few days with us. I'm going to update the stats in the next day or two, and we'll have those up to date through this show. And I hope to see you then. But remember, if you're going in that water, you are much more afraid of them sharks than they are of you.